It started on the hottest day of summer, the kind where the air feels like it's melting. My daughter Emma, just 9 years old, had one simple dream: to run a lemonade stand like the ones she saw in movies. She spent the night before squeezing lemons, designing a cardboard sign that said "Fresh Lemonade 1," and even made a jar labeled "College Fund." But the next morning, before our first customer could even take a sip, she appeared. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, clipboard in one hand, sunglasses in the other, she marched down the sidewalk like she owned the street. "Excuse me," she barked. "You can't sell that here. It violates community rules." I laughed, thinking she was joking. But Karen wasn't the type to joke. She waved her clipboard like it was the Constitution. "Commercial activity is prohibited on HOA property. Take this down immediately, or I'll report you." Emma's smile faded. She looked up at me with those innocent eyes and whispered, "Did I do something wrong, Daddy?" My blood boiled. It was just lemonade, not a business empire. But Karen didn't care. She stood there, tapping her foot, waiting for me to fold. And that's when something inside me snapped. "All right, Karen," I said calmly. "You want to play HOA rules? Let's play." That night, I called every neighbor who'd ever rolled their eyes at her. Turns out, there were plenty. We came up with a plan, one so bold, so perfectly petty, that Karen would never see it coming. The next morning, while she was at yoga class, we gathered supplies, folding tables, pitchers, banners, and gallons of lemonade. We set up the biggest lemonade stand our neighborhood had ever seen, and we built it right on Karen's front lawn. By the time she got back, the smell of lemons filled the air, kids were laughing, and a big sign hung over her bushes. "Karen's Lemonade Emporium. Open now." Her face turned redder than a sunburn. "What is this?" she screamed, storming across the lawn. I smiled and handed her a cup. "House rules, Karen. You said no stands on HOA property, so we found a loophole." Karen's jaw dropped. And the best part? The entire neighborhood was watching. Would she call the cops? The HOA board? Or finally admit she'd lost this one? By the next morning, the entire neighborhood was buzzing. Our Karen's Lemonade Emporium had gone viral, at least within the HOA's Facebook group. Photos, memes, and laughing emojis filled the feed. Even the postman stopped by for a cup, but not everyone was amused. At 6 p.m. sharp, I got the email. The subject line read, "Mandatory HOA meeting, violation notice." Karen had wasted no time. She'd called an emergency session of the HOA board to discuss inappropriate community behavior. I showed up early, mostly because I wanted a front row seat to whatever nonsense was about to unfold. The meeting room smelled like coffee and tension. Karen sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her loyal rule followers, wearing her signature pearl necklace and a grin that screamed, "I'm about to destroy you." "Let's begin," she said, slamming her gavel. Yes, she actually owned a gavel. "We are here to address a blatant disregard for HOA policy. A lemonade stand on my property." Someone in the back snorted. Karen glared. Who laughed? Before anyone could answer, I stood up. "Actually, Karen, that was a community lemonade event. Open to all. Free drinks. Family friendly. I believe that falls under community engagement." Her grin vanished. "You deliberately trespassed on private property." "Private property?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "Funny. I checked the records. The patch of grass your lawn chair sits on. It's technically common HOA land, which means it belongs to all of us." A murmur rippled through the room. Karen's face twitched. That's ridiculous!" she stammered, flipping through her binder. "Oh, and one more thing," I added. "We raised $186. Every dollar went to the neighborhood park restoration fund. So technically we were fundraising for HOA improvements." Silence. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. Everyone except Karen, who sat frozen in disbelief. "You think this is funny?" she hissed, rising from her seat. "You've humiliated me." I shrugged. "Not at all. We just wanted a little lemonade." Her hands trembled as she gathered her papers. "This isn't over," she muttered. "You'll regret this." But as she stormed out, I noticed something different. The crowd wasn't afraid of her anymore. They were with me. For the first time, Karen's power was slipping through her perfectly manicured fingers. And deep down, I knew she'd come back with something bigger, something worse. But I was ready. For 2 weeks, things were quiet. Too quiet. Karen hadn't been seen since the HOA meeting. No morning walks, no driveway inspections, no rule reminder flyers taped to doors. It felt almost peaceful. Until one Friday morning, when the letter came. Bold red ink stamped across the top. Notice of violation, community sanction. Apparently, the HOA, led by Karen, had decided to fine me. $500 for unauthorized event activity and damage to association property. Damage? From lemonade? I laughed out loud. But then I saw the kicker at the bottom. Failure to pay will result in property lien. That's when I realized this wasn't over. Karen wanted blood, or at least my wallet. That afternoon, I caught her outside pruning her roses like a villain in disguise. I walked over, holding the notice. $500, Karen? Seriously? She didn't even look up. Actions have consequences, dear. Maybe next time you'll think before embarrassing the HOA. Oh, I've been thinking, I said. And you're right. Actions do have consequences. I walked away, but not before snapping a photo of her perfectly trimmed lawn, her fancy HOA-approved fence, and her illegal backyard shed. You see, I'd done a little digging of my own. Turns out, her precious shed violated 3 separate HOA regulations she'd written herself. That night, I printed everything, the documents, the bylaws, the proof, and mailed it straight to the HOA board with a single sticky note attached. Rules are rules. From your favorite lemonade guy. Within days, the tides turned. The board called a new meeting. This time, without Karen leading it. The members reviewed her violations, the harassment complaints, and her misuse of HOA funds. Yep, she'd been charging inspection fees that weren't even approved. The room was electric when the board chair finally said it. Effective immediately, Karen is suspended from all HOA duties pending review. I tried not to smile, but failed miserably. Outside the meeting hall, Karen caught up to me, eyes blazing. You think you've won? This is my neighborhood. My rules! Not anymore, I said softly. You just got voted off your own committee. Her voice cracked as she hissed, I'll make you pay for this. I leaned closer. Oh, don't worry, Karen. You already did. In Lemonade. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stood there, fuming in silence as I walked away, the sound of laughter from neighbors following behind me. But little did I know, Karen wasn't done yet. She was about to pull her boldest stunt ever. 3 days later, I woke up to chaos. A tow truck idled in front of my house. 2 men in orange vests were arguing with my wife, while Karen, in her oversized sunglasses and smug grin, stood nearby holding a clipboard. What's going on? I shouted, rushing outside. Karen crossed her arms. You've got 15 minutes to move that lemonade stand. It's a public nuisance and violates HOA sanitation codes. I blinked. Sanitation codes? Karen, it's a wooden table and a few lemons. She smirked. Doesn't matter. It's an unauthorized structure. The board approved its removal. I looked at the tow truck driver. You're really going to tow a table? He shrugged. We were told to take anything labeled lemonade stand. Orders from the HOA. That's when I noticed, not just my stand, but every stand on the block had the same bright pink violation sticker. Karen had gone nuclear. It wasn't just about me anymore. She was punishing the whole neighborhood. I took a deep breath. Fine. She wanted war? She'd get one. That evening, I gathered everyone. The Johnsons, the Millers, even old Mr. Harper, who hadn't come outside in months. I told them it was time for one last stand. We called it the Lemonade Festival. The next morning, the cul-de-sac transformed into a carnival. Dozens of tables lined the street, each one decorated with lemon balloons, banners, and signs. Kids ran around with cups, dogs barked happily, and someone even brought a cotton candy machine. Music blared, laughter echoed. Then came the moment we'd all been waiting for. Karen's front door swung open. Her jaw dropped. She looked around, speechless. Every house, every lawn, was covered in lemonade stands. I grabbed the microphone and announced, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first annual HOA Lemonade Festival. All proceeds go to the local children's hospital. The crowd erupted in cheers. Even the local news showed up, cameras flashing. Karen stormed up to me. You can't do this! I'll call the police. I smiled. Already did. They're here to support the fundraiser. And right on cue, an officer handed her a cup. Best lemonade I've ever had, he said. Her shoulders slumped. The crowd applauded louder. For the first time, Karen had no control. Only the sour taste of defeat. By sunset, we'd raised over $2,000. And as I watched, Emma hand a lemonade cup to a smiling neighbor. I realized something. We hadn't just beaten Karen. We'd brought the whole community together. Sometimes the sweetest revenge comes with a twist of lemon. If you loved watching us take on HOA Karen, hit that like button, subscribe for more wild neighborhood stories, and drop a comment below telling us what you would do if Karen came after your lemonade stand. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Let's keep the laughs coming.